The book of Abraham tells how Abraham's kinsmen worshipped idols. One of these was the god of Elkenah. When Abraham preached against the worship of this god, he said that his kinsmen hearkened not unto his voice, but endeavored to take away his life by the hand of the priest of Elkenah. Not only did the priest try to take Abraham's life, but this priest had offered upon the altar 3 virgins at one time because of their virtue. They would not bow down to worship gods of wood or of stone, therefore they were killed upon the altar. Fortunately, the angel of the Lord delivered Abraham out of the priest's hands before he could be sacrificed. What do we know about the ancient god Elkenah? No deity of that name is mentioned in the King James Version of the Holy Bible, but in the last century, archaeologists have unearthed evidence of his worship. Elkenah is very likely the shortened form of the name of the Canaanite god Elkenah, meaning God who created the earth, or God creator of earth. Among the ancient Hittites living in Asia Minor, he was known as Elkenah. Originally a Canaanite deity, his worship spread to the Hittite capital of Hattusha in northern Turkey, to Karetepe near the border of modern Turkey and Syria, to Palmyra in inland Syria, to Jerusalem, and to Leptis Magna in Libya. All told, Elkenah was worshipped for more than 1,500 years, from the time of Abraham to the time of Christ. We know something about Elkenah from a Canaanite myth that was preserved by the Hittites. Unfortunately, the clay tablets containing this myth are broken, so we do not have all the story. One scholar summarizes the story as follows, quote, Ashertu, the wife of Elkenah, attempts to seduce Baal. The storm god reveals everything to her husband and insults her on his inspiration. Thirsting for revenge, Ashertu regains the favor of her husband, who then lets her do whatever she likes to Baal. The goddess Anat now comes to the scene, having overheard the conversation between Elkenah and Ashertu. She warns Baal. Then the text breaks off. The details of this myth may be unsavory, but it is somewhat reminiscent of the situation described in the book of Abraham. Quote, These virgins were offered up because of their virtue. They would not bow down to worship gods of wood or of stone. Therefore they were killed upon this altar, and it was done after the manner of the Egyptians. One way of reading this passage is that worshiping the local gods would involve sexual acts in some way. Some have suggested that the Elkenah myth was ritually enacted, but because of the fragmentary nature of the surviving texts, how or even if this myth was ritualized is disputed. What is clear is that, along with the other deities in the text, the god Elkenah, mentioned in the book of Abraham, has very likely been identified in the ancient world and was featured in a myth involving violence and sexual acts.